Okay. Notice of a public meeting of the City of Brownsville, of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a workshop, an executive session, and a regular meeting on Tuesday, September 6, 2011, at 5:30, 5:45, and 6 p.m. in the Commission chambers on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Workshop A, discussion regarding a Resaca restoration project.
Okay, thank you. I invited Mr. Joe Boswell and a group of children here because I know our PUB and it has a project going on, and our mayor also has expressed interest in restoring our resacas. So at a Brownsville Beautification Committee meeting, Joe was telling me about this project, and I thought it'd be great for him to come before the commission and tell us about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mayor, Commission. On behalf of the Living Way students, could you stand up and identify yourself, please? These are our team leaders with the project. What we're doing, we are Rio Bravo Wildlife Institute, and the students are with Living Way Leadership Academy. We received a grant from Texas Parks and Wildlife and Service Learning Texas to do a restoration project on some local habitat. And the first thing we did with this grant, we went to, my slideshow's not playing. That's right. The first thing, we went to Dallas-Fort Worth and talked with some biologists and some service learning experts on different restoration methods. The kids learned how to take water samples, learned about invasive species, and they were definitely a hit there. We came from the furthest away in Texas. Everyone else was from the metro Dallas area. Someone was from around Lubbock, and we came all the way from down here. And the biologists there were thrilled to have us because they know the importance of our wetlands here. So this project basically is going to be a year-long, we're going to record baseline data on 5 Resaca sites and then involve the community and do some restoration projects to see how our efforts affect the Resacas and hopefully make them more beautiful and accessible places for tourists and local citizens to enjoy. The reason why I'm here today is to appeal to you for future appeals, and it'll be me or possibly my young associates approaching you for some assistance in this project. And this can be a project that is just limited to these 5 Resacas and these 5 projects, or it could be a citywide project and initiative launching some of the plans set out in United Brownsville in the environmental and park section. That's what I'm hoping for. We can break this down into 3 steps. The first one, we need to figure out what we have in our wetlands, what sort of problems and what sort of public access is already there. We need to, when we devise a plan of action, it's real important to us to get the community involved. One, because people benefit from volunteerism and outdoor activity just for obvious reasons, and 2, because that's what's going to keep our natural resources sustainable, by people taking ownership of them and learning about them. So they'll take care of them themselves in years to come when we're no longer spearheading these initiatives. And the last one is closing the loop, making it make sense to us as far as education and tourism and getting people to actually use these things. Conservation by recreation, if you will. This is important. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir. This is our city's backup water supply. We have a very unique ecosystem here with some endangered species. We also want to figure out how healthy our Resacas are for public use and what sort of natural resources are marketable nationwide and worldwide for people to come visit Brownsville. We're going to start with 5 sites around the city. 2 of them, we have one at Cabler Park, which is a great opportunity for some nature trails, some interactive nature trails. One at Lincoln Park, there's a natural wetlands there, which is actually where we met Miss Lada from Living Way Academy. She was there checking out our community gardens, and that's how we found them to work together on this grant. And eventually, after working with these 5 sites, like I said, a couple of them are with the Parks and Recreation Department, one's at UTB, one's by the Botanical Gardens. And eventually we'd like to, these protocols we're establishing apply to Resaca's around the whole city. We're working with, in addition to ourselves and working with UTB, it's going to handle some of the more rigorous scientific work. And the kids are going to get some good mentoring opportunities from students and teachers at the university with water testing and figuring out what native plants to plant. And ultimately, like I said, we'd like to get the whole community involved in this process. I think it's very important. One of the first things we're going to find out is what sort of invasive species problems we have, what sort of pollution problems we have, what the sources of them are, how we can mitigate it, what sort of animals and plants are there already, and who uses our Resacas and where. One of the more innovative things we're working on is ecological data collection app for iPhones and Androids. And our kids are going to use that to collect data from the Resacas that we're studying. And it's going to record what plants and animals you see, water quality. There's going to be some things in there about what sort of public access points are in there. And our kids will be using this along with some teachers and students from UTB. And hopefully this app will be something that can be used by the whole community if they want to contribute to the health of our Resacas. And it's going to go into a large database that's going to be hopefully a reference point for any future restoration projects with Resacas. We're working on this as we speak. As I said, it's real important for us to get the community involved. Education is not just a buzzword we throw around. This is actually, it ties into conservation, because as these students work on these Resacas, they're going to be the ones that are going to be taken care of in the future. We're trying to get, I'd like to find out with the help of some of you guys what pre-existing efforts are already being done on Resaca restorations and Resaca projects in general, and have us be put in touch with them and kind of work as a team. We can all be cogs in the same mission here. We're going to have a lot of invasive species removal projects and trash pickups, and we're also one of the things that Josh, one of our students, is in charge of is building a hoop house over at Lincoln Park to grow native plants to revegetate some of the Resacas. Another thing we'd like to do is figure out in our different points what these resources can be used for, whether it's kayaking or hiking or bird watching. One of our sites is, we're calling it the La Posada Reserve, recently acquired by the city, and there's some very rare and endangered plant life there. And so that'd be kind of an example of something that'd be very delicate and used very sparsely. Other places would be great for a park bench or a public bird blind, being able to use all the time by the community. The initial phase of this project, these 5 sites, is going to be about a year-long project, upon which the students will have made an impact on a few different Resacas and began that data collection protocol I mentioned earlier. And this last section is what we'll need the most help from the city with, is marketing our resources and creating paths and bird blinds and things like that to make sure our restoration efforts don't go unenjoyed. This is beneficial, one, to have resources for students like Living Way students and everyone else in the community to go learn about our ecosystem. And it's also potential economic draw. There's only a handful of birding destinations in Brownsville right now, and a lot of these Resacas, untaken care of, are potential hotspots where people will come from miles around to see something. we're hoping to achieve with this, like I said, a method in which to restore Resaca's in the future, and a whole list of new sites that we can market through the chamber and other avenues. Hopefully, put Brownsville on top of places to visit from ecotourists and birders. Again, I'm here to appeal for some other sources of help and assistance and collaboration. And we're probably going to be coming to you in the future for different things. For instance, if there's a littering problem at a certain place, we need the city's help putting some trash cans there. Just different creative ways like that to get us all on the same page. That's pretty much it. You guys have any questions?
That's great. I think, Commissioner, thank you for bringing Joe, but I think Commissioner Rose is about to jump out of her skin because it's right down her alley.
Well, I think,
No, I just.
You can invite us for the next one.
I'm sorry?
You can invite us for the next one.
Yes. I want to hear from you regularly, and I hope you can present to us Resaca by Resaca, your progress. I think that's great. As commissioners, I think we'd all love to go out and watch you work. So if you have a schedule of when you're going to be at different locations, we'd love, I'm speaking for everyone, but I'm sure we could all spare a few moments to learn along with your students. I'm thinking about the Resaca Restoration Program that the PUB is about to start, and whether or not you would interact with Dr. Jude Benavides, who would be very much in this same realm. And then the Resacas that you've chosen to start with, some, like La Posada, does have, you're not going to, there's nobody's personal home there. You could theoretically create a trail or a path that goes around the Resaca. I understand from planning that if you follow the path from La Posada, you can go in one direction to Morningside Park and the other direction all the way to the river. So I would be interested in y'all's planning and thoughts as you get into that stage to be able to interact and help us to create those beautiful paths and walks.
Yeah, most definitely. We are working with Mr. Benavides, by the way. And as far as those paths, Commissioner Zamora and I once discussed sort of a network of birding destinations and paths that this initiative will be a big part of that. These 5 restorations, maybe not all 5 of them, but at least a couple of them are going to contribute to a larger network of ecotourism destinations in Brownsville.
Well done.
Very well done. Let me suggest something. You got Dr. Birchfield back there, Pat, with the zoo. And by the way, I happened to be around on Saturday, and I saw those 18,000 people that were showing up to eat 10,000 cupcakes. I'm sorry, but I didn't see the 469th one. I do want to tell you, Pat, it was a wonderful sight to watch the city of Brownsville get so excited, and I know you had people from all over the valley. I was at the farmer's market, and I couldn't find a parking space. But other than that, I was thrilled to know how much people were excited about that. This project, Young People from Living Way, is something you need to get involved with, and I think one of the most important parts that you said today, besides the project being a wonderful project, is to involve the community. The community needs to take ownership. This is extremely important, and somehow or another, I think we need to kind of develop, commissioners, a way of making a task force which you as commissioners can be part of the leadership, and get together with PUB, and get together with Joe, get together with Dr. Birchfield, do it collectively. I think that's one of the other things that we have a challenge to do in this town, is to start working together as a community and not have different efforts going at different times and not coordinating it, because I think collectively we'll get a whole lot more done. And whereas you're starting like in Lincoln Park, I think PUB had the idea, or at least talking to the Corps of Engineers, is talking over there at Pat's place, over there by the zoo, where the city cemetery is, and also Dean Porter Park, mainly because of the visibility that we're going to have. But that doesn't prevent all of you from getting together and working together and coming together for the benefit of Brownsville. I think it's wonderful, and I love to see these young people involved. Guys, you are the future. You can keep those smiles going, because that's what it's going to take. You got to understand that young man behind you with a little beard. He no, don't turn around, Birchfield. that man right there, 40 years ago, got involved with the zoo, and he's done wonders. And hopefully some of you guys went to the zoo over the weekend, but it was a wonderful sight, and I think that's what we need to do starting now. Okay? So thank you very much.
Amen. Thanks a lot. And thanks for the tour, Commissioner Villarreal. The kids loved it.
Anytime.
It's now 5:47, executive session.
Executive session, attorney consultation pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code in connection with pending litigation styled and numbered BFFA Local Number 970 versus Brownsville, cause number 2011 DCL 5738P, 357 Judicial District Court, Cameron County, Texas.
Okay.
Make a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let's go to work. Madam Secretary, are we ready for the regular meeting?
Yes.
Okay. If we can all stand, and Mr. Barrera, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure will.
Thank you, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Brad?
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you so much for this nation that we're blessed to live in. And Lord, we ask you to continue to comfort the families of the 9/11 victims as we come up on that 10th year anniversary. Lord, we ask you to continue to help them put their lives together. We thank you so much that our country has not had any more large attacks. And we ask you to continue to lead those that are responsible for keeping us safe. Lord, we thank you for our neighbors to the south, and we ask you to continue to lead and guide them. Bless them with the security that they need and desire. And continue to help the people on the East Coast put their lives together. And Lord, for this meeting here tonight, lead and guide the leaders here before us. Give them divine inspiration, wisdom, and discernment as they make the decisions for the city of Brownsville. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
And Reverend, would you go ahead? There's a announcement he would like to make with relation to some the disasters and stuff that are happening in the East Coast, and he needs a little bit of help. So maybe you could enlighten us.
There were a lot of foreign exchange students from many countries around the world that were planning to go to homes on the East Coast, but many of those homes that they were going to be hosted in are no more. And so the organization is diverting a lot of those students here to Texas. And at this point, we still need homes for 6 of those students. Pastor Joseph Obel is the point man for that. And the city manager's office will be taking calls from people that are interested in hosting somebody and connecting those people with Pastor Joe Obel. So, and keep in mind, these people qualified for these programs, so they are the future leaders of their countries. And it's probably some of the best foreign relations our country could get. So,
Well, thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
And Brad, for anybody who's interested, we'll contact the city manager's office. And be it known that it's a semester, or is it?
it's a full school year.
It's a full school year.
Yes, they will leave right after this school year is over. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
I was going to give my report, was it John, did you? No, it was Jessica, I'm sorry.
It's me.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Okay. I was lucky enough to be asked by Roman Perez, who is he has muscular dystrophy. I was honored to be asked to represent the city of Brownsville, answering phones during this MDA telethon that was on, it was on Channel 4 this weekend on Sunday, and I was honored. So I got all my stuff, I went over there, and I answered phones for about 2 hours, and I was amazed by all of the calls coming in from Brownsville. We were able to raise, here in the Valley, $181,000. Amazing, amazing. Muscular dystrophy is a very common thing here in the Valley, and we need to pull together, we take care of our own, and we protect each other. And this was amazing that we got so many calls from Brownsville. As hard as times are right now, everybody opened up their hearts and their wallets. The Brownsville firefighters yearly stand on the curb in the heat and collect in the booth. Citizens, we all stop, we throw our dollars in. They collected over $15,000 here in Brownsville alone. So these men, absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. So I'm very proud of them, very, very proud of them, and the organization and the children that this money gets to. We are amazing, and we need to continue looking out for each other. Thank you.
Okay, so that's my report. Anyway, the next presentation is a Brownsville Tennis Center update. Charlie?
I'm going to introduce Mr. McNeil, who's got the expertise on tennis.
Welcome, Jim.
Welcome, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Martinez, City Commissioners, Mr. Kebler, Mr. Gonzalez, the City Secretary's office. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. I'm Jim McNeil with the Brownsville Tennis Association. And basically, since many of you are newly elected, the purpose of the presentation really is to acquaint you with one of the jewels of the city's parks inventory, the Brownsville Tennis Complex. How it came to be, where it is now, and basically where we're headed. And it really seems to me that it's really a great idea for the city to allow tennis players to run a tennis center. We're well connected. A little bit of history, the Brownsville Tennis Association was formed in the mid-1990s with the idea to advance the game of tennis. We first held some of our fun tennis tournaments at Hannah High School courts, and with the idea eventually to be able to develop a tennis complex. We then began dialogue with the then city commissioners and a CEO from the Texas section of the United States Tennis Association who did come here to Brownsville to see if we could actually build a tennis center that would become a reality. We had no funds. All of the available grants wanted matching funds. Then along came the Hudson family and donated 5 acres of land. There we had something of value to deal with, and it began to mushroom. With some of the heavy-duty fundraising on a part of the city and a part of the Brownsville Tennis Association, and a partnership that we developed, a 16-court tennis center became a reality. And I remember the day that we opened in a conversation with Mr. Carl Chilton, who was one of the main fundraisers on opening day. I made the remark, well, now that we have it, what are we going to do with it? Well, the old adage really kicked in. You build it, they will come. And come they did. Since opening in April of 2001, the United States Tennis Association has awarded us with Tennis Facility of the Year, and we are truly one of the best tennis centers south of Waco. The player usage that we calculated since opening, with some 90,000 to 100,000 players have played on our courts. When we first opened, if you wanted to be in a league, you had to go to Harlingen. Now we have yearly, we have between 12 and 14 league teams involving 150 to 175 players who play other Valley teams, and several, once you win with the Valley, you go on to state, and if you win at state, you go on at nationals, and we can proudly say we have had some that did that. And our junior teams have also played in the Nationals, and not only have they won, but they have also received Sportsmanship Award and Team Leadership Awards, a great bunch of kids. We have donated the courts annually to a charity tournament for a young high school player who was tragically killed in a car crash, Debbie Powers. We've donated to school groups and programs and for including some overflow from some of the tournaments that they have. One high school used our courts for a full month as their courts were not functional. We're now very much into what they call 10 and under tennis, and I don't know, some of you may have seen the advertising on television of 10 and under tennis, which is really great for kids 10 and under. It's a whole different program with a lighter set of tennis rackets and a kind of a Nerf tennis ball and dead tennis balls because they don't bounce so high as they advertise on television. It's a great program for kids. Since opening, we have done 11 professional tennis tournaments, 10 men's and 1 women's. For the 10th anniversary tournament, to kick off our tournament, we had here, they visited here, Mr. Brian Early, who is the chief umpire for the U.S. Open. And the U.S. Open, you can now see, it's on television right now. And if you look in the right place, you'll be able to see Mr. Early prominently displayed on the court. He's a down-to-earth guy. He's really a great guy. He even took all the Brownsville Tennis Association members out to dinner. And also, he is in charge of all pro circuit tennis for the United States and very deeply involved in Davis Cup. And when he was here, we had a chance to talk to him, and he has some great stories about how tennis is organized and about some of the individual players. It was really a kick. For the pro tournaments, all of you, I gave the office a program book for the tennis tournament, and I marked on it with a red marker that all the players, yeah, there we go. You see Robert Kendrick, he played here, he's from Fresno. And the following pages, yeah, Michael McClune played here, Tim Smichek. And yeah, Ryan Harrison, he was given I think he trained a lot at Duke's Tennis Ranch in New Braunfels. And he played here when he was 16 years old and signed in as a pro. And when you do that, you can no longer play high school or college tennis because he's a professional. Jordan Cox, very nice young man. Ryan Harrison was given a wild card to play into the U.S. Open this last year, and he made it into the second round, so he's a pretty strong player. Also, somewhere further down, there's next page, Donald Young. Ryan Sweeting played here. Donald Young just got into the third round by beating Chela, the Spanish clay court specialist. He beat him in 3 sets. So, you know, Brownsville's done okay with some of the young people that have played through our pro tournaments. Many of these kids come here from all over the world, and we've had as many as 30 countries represented. And this last year we had 30, and we have had as many as 38. Some 120 players come here, including 20 officials. And many of them go on to play into the major world tournaments. Wimbledon, I counted 25 players, and again in the U.S. Open, I counted 25 players that are playing in the U.S. Open that had played through our tournament here. So it's quite exciting to watch kids like Donald Young playing on national television. And I know the city is interested in what we've done with our pro tournaments and how it impacts the city's economy. This last pro tournament, we brought in approximately $30,000 to hotels, which equated to about $3,000 in hotel occupancy tax, $20,000 to restaurants, $4,000 to gas stations, and some additional monies for car rentals, airlines, and taxi cabs. We've also done several what they call tennis on campus, which is almost like an intramural type tournament that has brought 5 or 6 teams down here from other cities like San Antonio, Houston, Laredo, and for several nights stay, which included 40 to 50 players and their families. So that also had an impact. We do market Brownsville valley-wide, we market it statewide, and we market Brownsville nationally. And with the event of our pro tennis tournament, we actually market Brownsville worldwide, which is one of the few sports organizations that does so. That's basically all I really have to say. And gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions of me?
I have a couple of questions. I understand the association or this event receives approximately 30,000 annually from hotel occupancy revenue?
Yeah, to hotels, right.
Yes. Is that funding to host some of these players, or it's funding?
Well, the players come here, like Donald Young, he brought his mother when he played here. He played here when he was 16 years old. He was then the #1 world-ranked junior, and they paid their own hotel room.
They did. So we don't pay them to
No,
be
we don't pay.
to participate.
We have to pay the officials' rooms, but the hotels have been very kind to us and have comped the rooms for the officials.
So the funding is to place advertising in publications, or?
Yeah, these players pay their own way.
No. The funding you receive from the hotel occupancy tax revenue.
Right.
Okay. You use that to purchase advertising in various publications? Is that what it's used for?
Well, we build websites and whatnot to try to encourage players to come here, sure.
Okay, so what publications are we advertising in to promote this
We
event?
haven't really advertised in any basic publications. We do advertise in the Herald when the tournament is on.
Jim, she's asking, what do you do with the 30,000 that the
Yes.
city gives you?
Yes.
That's what
I'm
she's
sorry,
asking.
I'm having difficulty
She's
hearing you.
asking, what do you do with the 30,000 that the city gives you for the event? That's what she's asking.
Well, the 30,000 that are basically given to us is for daily operations, okay? It's, what should we say, it's our break-even money. Because it's not cheap to run a tennis program. We do collect money for court fees, we do collect some from the pros' lessons, but still the balancing is the 30 that we get from the hotel occupancy tax. That keeps us on an even keel.
Any other questions?
I was a tennis player in high school, and as a matter of fact, when this facility opened, it was somewhere that I spent many, 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 many hours at. So it is a very positive thing for Brownsville, and I don't play tennis anymore, but I wish I had time for it. But it is very positive, and I have seen the very good things that come out of it, so good job with that.
You did start a program for the young kids, right?
Well, yeah, the new 10 and under program is for kids 6 to 10 years old, right?
And that's a new program.
It's an exciting thing. In fact, we've been invited October 22nd. We got a call from Washington, D.C., from the National Hispanic Health. They're going to put a program on October 22nd at Dean Porter Park for sports and health, and they asked us to be a small part of it. And we're going to do some of that 10 and under tennis for that.
Is that a free program, 10 and under? 10 and under is a free program?
Yeah, it's a free program for kids, yeah. In fact, one of the people that's running it is the head coach for Rivera High School tennis team. And he has several volunteer assistants, and it's exciting. They love it. The kids love it.
I've been to the tournament 2 or 3 times now, and it's very impressive, very exciting.
Well, it's exciting to be involved in it. It's exciting to watch these people go on and play in some of these major tournaments. And we also had one kid that, are you all familiar with the TAPS district, which is basically some of the parochial school?
Right.
One kid that trained at our tennis center through St. Joe was #1 in the state. So the programs here in Brownsville is working.
It's very exciting.
Very good. Thank you, Jim.
Okay,
very
thank you
much.
for allowing me to be here. You all have a
Sure.
great evening, okay?
You too.
Proyecto Juan Diego?
Yeah, Proyecto Juan Diego. I think I see all the wonderful people that are involved. Sister Phyllis, how are you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Brenda Garza, and I'm the Development Director with Proyecto Juan Diego. Allow me to introduce, brought a couple of people with me, Sister Phyllis Peters, the Executive Director, Lupita Sanchez, one of our program coordinators, and Linda Gonzalez, who is one of our fundraising volunteers. Our purpose today is to shed some light on a few things that you may know or may not know about our organization. Proyecto Juan Diego is an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization located in the heart of Cameron Park at 2216 Eduardo Street. We were incorporated originally in 2003 and have worked at our current location since 2007. Our mission is to empower low-income families to be healthy and self-sufficient community members through educational programs, family activities, and preventative health services. Much of what we do, the main thrust of our organization, revolves around education. We offer English classes, GED classes, citizenship classes, an elderly program, parenting classes, which include a program that we call, it's one of our favorites, Playing with a Purpose, where we offer mothers of preschool-age children the tools to educate their children while they engage them in playful activities. This project is currently funded in part by the United Way of Southern Cameron County, so we are a United Way agency. We also offer diabetic education, aerobics classes, nutrition, cooking classes, stress management, and an after-school tutorial program. Most recently, we started a community garden project where we're teaching residents how to grow their own food, and we're encouraging them to participate in the local farmers market project. Each year, anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 residents, either from Cameron Park or from wherever, because our doors are open to everyone, walk through our doors seeking help or benefit from some of the community outreach work that we do with the promotoras. Promotoras are community outreach workers. If you've never heard that term before, it's something that's catching on, it's very popular nationwide. Diabetes awareness, however, for us, is one of our main priorities. We conduct A1C screenings for diabetics, and we host a diabetic support group for family members of those afflicted with this disease. The difference between our work with diabetes compared to some other places that might offer similar services is that we not only teach residents how to maintain their condition and to control this disease, but we also follow up after the fact to see how they're doing. In 2010, the Promotora Healthcare Program assisted a total of 1,160 members of the community, working with our partners like Su Clínica Familiar, the UT School of Public Health, and the Brownsville Community Health Center. We realize that you can walk into many places in Brownsville that offer diabetic screening and GED classes, but few places offer all these services for everyone for free and under the same roof. Proyecto Juan Diego is funded through grants and fundraising, but unfortunately, drastic cuts at the state level have left us desperately short on general operating funds. At this time, if I could have her start the PowerPoint. If this PowerPoint goes by very quickly, I take full responsibility. I thought I could put together a 2-minute program here, and I wanted it to go fast, so if it hurts your eyes, I'm sorry for that. At this time, I'd like to have our executive director, Sister Phyllis Peters, just say a few words, and then I'll close it up here.
Well, the only thing I wanted to really say was, you know, I'm more concerned, instead of the statistics, I'm more concerned about how we walk and accompany the low-income people to be healthy, stable, and productive citizens of our own community. And I have a quotation that I just wanted to read because it really makes me reflect a lot about ourselves, and I think you'd all say the same. The moral measure of any society or community can be gauged by how it treats its weakest members. And I think we all have to reflect on that a little bit, and I guess this is one of our aims, to really accompany them so they understand the systems that we live in, the systems of the school system, the healthcare system, and just the basic value systems.
In closing, and I'll take questions in just a sec. But in closing, I believe I speak for all of us here when I say that we would really like the commission to consider helping us with any 501c3 funding that you might have for that purpose. We're just throwing it out there. And also, we would very much like to invite you to our next fundraiser, which is called Noche de Colores. And it is a colorful Mexican celebration to benefit Proyecto Juan Diego. It's set for 7 p.m. Saturday, September 24th at the Valley International Country Club. Tickets are $50 each and $75 per couple. We'll have fun, music, dancing. And as I was telling Sister, when you go out and you try to plan a party for 200 to 300 people and you only have $1 in your pocket, well, then I think you're doing God's work. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We really appreciate this time, and we're hoping that you'll consider attending our event. At this time, if there are any questions, we welcome any questions, comments you might have.
Brenda, you are doing God's work, all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before we go to the Employee of the Month, Mr. Kabler, Commissioner Villarreal had a question.
Sure.
Request.
I met with Mr. Robert Lucio, who runs a business in District 4 and knows a lot of residents that have been affected by the border wall. So I had invited him, and somehow there was a mix-up and he didn't get onto the agenda, but I got permission and he came to present.
Thank you, John. Mayor, City Commission, thank you for squeezing me in. I really appreciate it. And Pete, how are you? Been a long time, huh? I used to be 6'3", 150. Didn't recognize me. Gravity has taken over, you know. Pretty much taken over. I come here. I really appreciate you, John, for letting me come in and talking to the new commission. In 2006, we got the border wall, border fence, anything that you want to call it. We got it in Brownsville, and I don't want to go back to 2006 and fight those old fights, whether you like it or you agree with it or not. I mean, I don't think that that's an issue anymore. The issue is that we do have it. It exists. And people live behind that border fence. We have people tonight that will, that sleep uncomfortably, knowing that the security on that side of the fence is not as good on that side of the fence that it would be on this side of the fence. So I want to make sure that we don't go back in time and fight those old fights, but as we move forward, 5 years after that, we have some problems back there, and I'd like to come back. I want to tell you right now that I'd like to come back and present it a little bit more detailed than I am tonight. But we have security problems back there, and really want to address the city, ask the city. And the city managers, chief, what exactly the role is of the city police department on the Mexican side of the fence. I'd like to address that. If there's a task force with the Border Patrol, with the Sheriff's Department, with the state police, and to see if there's anything that is going on there. Also, want to bring up the fact of security, that right now we are seeing that Border Patrol and Homeland Security is really patrolling the fence line in times of when there's problems in Mexico, they're going to be patrolling the fence line and not the river. So anybody that's on that side, of course, is going to be in harm's way. And we're very concerned with that. I'm talking to several residents people that live on the Mexican side of the fence, like I say. And right now is just a crucial time, and we'd like to start addressing some of these problems that we have with the city, with the county, with the state, and start bringing this up because it's been 5 years now. And the things that we talked about back then, some of the concerns that people had were valid concerns, and they're coming true now. One is security, also property values, and other things like that. So we need to address that. We need to start talking about it, and we haven't talked about it lately. I think it's very legitimate that we start moving forward. Where are we going to go as a city, I guess, and this great commission today that I see could start making decisions for the future of that property, because right now it is it's becoming a wasteland back there. We have a buffer zone between the fence line and the river, and it's going to become less and less populated. People cannot sell their properties or move in or out, and you know we need to talk about that. And I hope that this the time that we had today will get us to start doing that. I think that I'm here today to ask, you know, the city to please to form a committee or to call people in to start addressing those needs.
Mr. Lucio, I appreciate your time, and we apologize for not putting it on the agenda, and Commissioner Villarreal had asked for this, but I don't want to go too far in. Perhaps maybe Commissioner Villarreal, you will head a task force to get with Mr. Lucio, and you all get with the city manager and with the chief of police, and maybe you can present us with a report. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Just one more thing, Robert, you wanted to invite people to a meeting?
We're gonna have a meeting of some of the residents, and of course I run a business on that side, and we're getting together on the 17th at the Fort Brown Golf Course in the club room, and we're going to discuss some of the personal problems that are having back there. Mostly to them it's security. We also want to look at as the future to help property owners on that side of the fence, looking at, you know, possibly an enterprise zone or something like that that will help with property values, and will start revitalizing those areas, because they will just die out. It'll be a dead zone back there.
So it's the 17th at what time?
I'm sorry?
The 17th at what time?
It's the 17th at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.?
There at the clubhouse, and we invite everybody to come. There'll be people that will be there. Also, maybe some officials that we'd like to have, and invite everybody there we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Kevler, you have the Employee of the Month.
Mayor, members of the commission, as we approach the anniversary of 911, we honor one of our very own Brownsville firefighters with the Employee of the Month recognition. Please help me welcome Cassandra Guerrero. Cassandra's been with the fire department for 22 years, 12 of which, or 10 of which she has been assigned as a fire inspector and an investigator. She has obviously tremendous leadership and organizational skills, but she's very confident, and we feel that she is very willing to help out with technical assistance to all the firemen that require such. Obviously, there's not very many of them, and she is always being called, and she's always willing to do so. She is a well sought after speaker in the area of fire prevention and the fire code. She, not only within her profession, but for school projects and things like that, for the school children, in relation to the dangers of fires and things like that, and she's always willing to be there. We're very proud of her. We call her at times at City Hall to converse with her on some of these issues and things like that, and she's always willing to show up and help us out. So with the honor, she gets a fireproof watch. The plaque in recognition of the employee of the month for September 2010. Well, you still get month. Oh, and the pin, which I'll put inside your watch. And of course, Cassandra is eligible for the Employee of the Year at our banquet in December, so we can congratulate Cassandra Guerrero, Employee of the Month for September.
Thank you. I'm kind of shy, but I have a few things to say. It really has been a great honor and a privilege to be able to serve the citizens of the community and to work under the direction of Fire Chief Pettis and the Fire Marshal. And I just want to thank them for allowing me the freedom to be able to go out and do some of the things that need to be done in our community. And I want to thank my mother, who's been my inspiration all of my life, and my husband for his support. Thank you.
Cassandra, you are to be congratulated. As well as your husband and your mother, okay?
I just wanted to say one more thing.
Sure.
When I grew up, when I was a little girl a couple of years ago, it was never my intention to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a teacher. They are really some of our greatest heroes with what they do. Then I realized I didn't like kids, so I got married and had 4 of my own. And I hosted foreign exchange students for 14 years, and it was a wonderful experience. And I think that everybody should share that opportunity with their children. It really has been wonderful. In fact, I've had them come back and visit. One of them just left back to Slovakia. It's been great.
Thank you for all you do.
Mayor,
Consent agenda items.
I just received that I'm having a family emergency. Somebody's in transit to the hospital, so I will be excusing myself. Thanks.
Sure. Go ahead, Secretary.
Consent agenda items A through K.
Move to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, the next, the board and commissions.
Boards and commissions. Consideration and action to appoint a city commissioner and 1 alternate to serve on the Amigos del Valle Board of Directors for fiscal year 2011-2012.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Commissioner John Villarreal.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries.
We needed an alternative.
You need an alternative,
Alternate.
and I would move that Jessica Trudeau, Commissioner.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It carries. Number 5.
Consideration and action to appoint 2 city commission members to the city's audit committee.
Pete, was,
Sounds like a really fun committee.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, we need to, appoint 2 members to the audit committee to replace Commissioner Triani and Mayor Amada. So it's your choice to appoint 2 commission members. It could be you, or it could be 2 other commissioners.
it's always in my favorite place. No. No, I'm happy to serve. Would anybody else like to join me on that one? Huh?
I'm already on this.
Okay, I wasn't looking at you.
Okay, sorry.
I would like to serve on
Okay, okay, so you get 2 more lawyers for the price of 1, okay?
Thank you.
I think we have
Yes,
to
we
vote,
do.
do we not?
Yes.
Okay.
I move to appoint Stella Chavez Vasquez, Commissioner appointee.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Motion carries.
And I move to appoint Mayor Jody Martinez.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Have fun.
Okay, Pete, next.
Second public hearing to discuss the proposed 2011 ad valorem tax rate fiscal year 2012 of .700613 per $100 valuation, which is 6.11% over the effective tax rate of .660262 per $100 valuation.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, this is the second public hearing to discuss a possible tax rate increase for the coming fiscal year 2012. I have a PowerPoint presentation. Some of these slides have been covered from the previous public hearing. I have added several slides that we would like to go over with you. This is this particular slide has been explained to you earlier. We began the fiscal year 2012 with a deficit of 4.5 million. Since then, we have reduced expenditures by 1.2, and we have also raised revenues by a little over $1 million. So that reduced the deficit to 2.2 or 2.3 million as it stands right now, or approximately 7.19% in reserves, which is a small percentage. We would certainly like to be at least at 15%. This particular slide shows again the ending fund balance, the projected fund balance for the period that ends September 30th, 2012 of a little over 6.3 million. One of the items that we would like to cover, this is a new slide, shows you the transfers that we have received from the Brownsville Public Utilities Board. In 2010, we received $3 million in economic assistance, and we also got a share of the lawsuit. In other words, it was 50-50, 1.5 million. So in 2010, the city of Brownsville received contributions, not only cash transfer, but also economic assistance and a portion of the settlement of 1.5. Then in 2011, we received 2.5 million, and also just recently 186,382 for a lawsuit. If you combine those 2 years, we're over 7 million that the city received from the PUB. Had it not been for this additional transfers, obviously our fund balance would have been $7 million less right now. So it's very important to note that, and as a result of this economic assistance and additional revenue that we received from the PUB, we were able to keep the tax rate where it was. In other words, no tax rate increase. This is another slide that shows the transfers going back to 2003 all the way to 2012 from the PUB. This is the overall city of Brownsville, includes all the operating funds. We have a budget of $123,475,906. Debt service. One of the items that let me carry it forward a little bit further. I want you to look at this slide very carefully. This slide gives you a distribution of the ad valorem tax rate between the general fund or the maintenance operations and the debt service rate. If you look at the bottom right-hand slide, where it shows the distribution of the tax rate, remember that the tax rate consists of two component units. Part of it goes to M&O, which is the general fund, and the other portion goes to debt service. In July, when we issued debt, we indicated to you that we were not going to raise the debt service tax rate. That's what we were talking about, the debt service tax rate. Because we made some changes to the, we made some changes to the fund. We went ahead and made sure that we kept the debt service rate at 27 cents. And this slide here shows that the debt service rate right now is 27 cents, and that's the rate that we told you we were going to have without raising that rate. If you look at the left-hand bottom corner, that includes the not only the debt service rate of 27 cents, but it also includes an additional amount for the M&O, and this is where this tax rate comes in. The rollback rate is 70 cents. We are proposing to hopefully we can increase the tax rate 4 cents, but all of the 4 cents would be towards the general fund because that's the fund that needs the funding. The debt service fund is kept separate from the general fund. Right now, we, at the end of September or the beginning of 2011, October, we have an estimated fund balance in this fund of $2,854,000. Going through all the way through 2012, the fund balance will increase slightly to $3,134,000. And this fund obviously helps us if we issue another debt. We can use some of these funds to take care of some of the payments that will be coming up in the future. Also, we want to point out that the city of Brownsville, even though has an outstanding debt going forward of $158,595,000, we do have funds that are coming into the fund that are coming in from various sources. So we call this self-supported debt, and that's $10,555,000. So the overall debt that is charged to the tax rate is $148,040,000, not $158,595,000 that's outstanding. Going back to some of the years past, and I was looking at some numbers going back to the year 1990, 1991, when the city of Brownsville was placed on a credit watch because our fund balance was so low that we did not have enough money to operate for many days. Right now, the ideal fund balance that we need to maintain going forward is at least 60 days. And 60 days equals to about 14% of our fund balance. If you just looked at the previous slide, that amount obviously is going to go below the 15%, and that's something that we want to avoid. We want to maintain a strong rating. And right now, Moody's right now, for instance, has given us a rating, which is a high quality rating of a AA3. Standard & Poor's, we're at upper middle grade, A+, and Fitch, also along with Moody's, a high quality, a AA-. We definitely want to keep these ratings where they are. Any slide in our fund balance, we feel that our rating agencies are not going to be as good to us as they have been the last few years. And the reason why we had a rating increase various years because we have shown to them that we have been able to maintain a fund balance that had exceeded 15% in reserves. Tax rate and tax levy. And this is a slide that we covered last week in our first public hearing. 50 cents increase will generate close to $250,000. 1 penny, close to $500,000, and so forth. 1.5 penny, again, we can go all the way up to 4.0351, which is the equally to the rollback rate. This will generate $2 million. So this will take care of some of the deficits that we are incurring right now, which is about $2.3 million. These are the percentage increase from the effective tax rate all the way to the rollback rate of 70.0613, and the percentage increase, if you go all the way to the rollback rate, is 6.11%. What does that do to a average home? The average taxable value for residents this year is $80,582. Last year it was $80,346. There's a small, very small increase as far as values, which is not very much. We can call this pretty steady. We didn't have much growth. That's $3.73 per year more. If you increase, or if we increase the tax rate 1 penny, that means that the average homestead will be paying $8.06 per year. cents, $16.12 annually, and so forth. 24.17 for 3 pennies, 32.23 for 4. This is 4 pennies exactly, and then the little additional pennies more is 32.52. That's the more of what an average homestead in Brownsville would be paying in property tax. This is a new slide that we didn't have last time. The city of Brownsville honors or gives out what we call tax exemptions. We do have abatements. We have charitable, which includes all our churches. But let's look at towards the very bottom. Besides the exempt obviously are all the properties like the school district, the city, the university. All of those are exempt. It's $2,088,000 based on the effective tax rate. But if you go below that, you have a Freeport, the Freeport exemption. And that we have, that generates $780,821. What is the Freeport? Well, the city of Brownsville has for several years offered Freeport exemption for various goods that are detained in Texas for a short period of time. These are really the ones that are held in the state for less than 175 days for the purpose of assembly, mainly the maquiladoras. In this case, they assemble. Well, there's a new law that just was passed by the state legislature in June on special session, whereby we have an opportunity, if we approved between a resolution and an ordinance between October 1st and December 31st of this year, and obviously we need public hearings for this. We have the opportunity maybe to remove this exemption, but that's something that we're going to have to be talking between now and between October and December. But this is for the coming year, not this year. This is something that we are going to be requiring to do. If we don't do nothing, then means that the exemption stays. I just thought I'd bring this up because there's something we're going to be discussing in the next few months.
Very helpful.
One of the areas that we need to look at very closely is the hurricanes. This is something that we always say, well, we're going to get reimbursed by FEMA. Well, that's not the case. Hurricane Dolly is an example, for instance. We spent it $2.6 million, and we got reimbursed $1.4 million. So that means that the city of Brownsville General Fund had to kick in $1.2 million. Luckily, we haven't had any more major storms like we had in Dolly. We've had some, but it has not affected us that much. And that's another reason why we want to maintain our fund balance, a strong fund balance, because we are where we are. We're in a hurricane area. One of the areas that we also like to point out is some of the homestead exemptions that citizens in Brownsville get. For instance, if you are over 65, you get $10,000 additional for over 65 homestead, plus you get $6,000 from the city of Brownsville. So that's additional. If you're over 65, these are the elderly, you get an exemptions of $16,000. Now, if you're a disabled veteran, those are additional exemptions that the city of Brownsville gives. We covered this also on our slide last time. There are new positions that are requested by departments on a yearly basis. Obviously, they're there, but we are not considering for funding. If you look at all the funds, you're looking at a little over $2 million. Capital outlay, again, there's so much need in the city for capital items, a lot of replacement vehicles, projects, et cetera. Obviously, it's not in the budget, $10 million. And then we have a large special projects of, we look at this, $78 million. Maybe, I know that we have talked about probably doing a bond election in the coming years. It's something that we probably need to look at because there are some items that we would certainly like to include. Why a tax rate increase? Well, our general fund is 2.3 million short. We have already reduced it by 1.3. The proposed budget already includes a cost of living increase for police officers, collective bargaining that is, and that's going to cost us about $645,000, and just in this particular fiscal year. Does not include obviously the remaining years, 2013 and 2014. This particular budget does not include firefighters, collective bargaining employees, which if you get a 3%, that's about $303,000. Beginning with fiscal year 2007, we began freezing homestead values, and again, these are the elderly and disabled. Because of this additional exemption that we gave the over 65 and disabled, we lose close to $390,000 that we were previously getting in the past. And again, we had a group of senior citizens that approached the City Commission several years ago because there was a state law that was approved by the state legislature whereby we could allow or freeze the values of homestead for those people that are over 65. The City Commission previously, before you approved that exemption. So that's another item that we were receiving in the past that we are no longer getting. And another area that we need to look very closely is that we are going to be exceeding the 200,000 population if you include the areas, rural areas around Brownsville. Well, the city stands to lose, and this is something we need to look at very closely, which is coming up in 2013. We may not get funding from the federal government for operating subsidies. That is going to cost us $1.8 million in order to keep the bus service going in Brownsville. Again, the budget for 2012 does not include economic assistance from the PUB, that monies that we had received from them for years 2010 and 2011. This is something I've already covered. Again, sales tax revenue, yes, it's higher it's going to be higher than 2011 and 2012, about 2.76% or about 650, but it's still below the 2008 numbers by about 4.4. And again, all of this is catching up to us. We're not generating the revenues that we had received in the past. The golden years, like if you want to look at it, that we're gone. It's a struggle going forward. We don't see any strong points coming up. Yet that's the reason why we need to hold back on some of the expenditures that we keep seeing. This is the, again, sales tax. This is a good chart. 2008, we had strong years. We had double-digit growth, not only in the sales tax, we also had double-digit growth in property values. Every section of the economy was going strong. Well, it ends. It ended, and it's taken a while before we move up again. You look at 2012, it's $24,150,000. It's still $1 billion less than 2008. Again, that's money that we would see growth every year. We don't see that growth anymore. And that's one of the reasons why we have held back with our cost of living increases to our civilian employees. And we're going on our 4th year. Another area that's really hurting us, obviously, is the bridge revenues that are at veterans. We are, and I have a chart for that. This is a good chart here. 2006, $2,000,009. Look at that chart going down all the way to 2012. It's still going down. It's not, we don't see any improvement. And again, that has a major, and I say major, impact on our general fund. That's my presentation.
Very good.
I have a quick question, Mayor.
Sure.
How long has our transfer from PUB been 10%?
We just started that formula, I would say, the last 4 years, 5 years?
4 to 5 years.
Yeah, we just made that agreement recently. Yes, it's about 4 years, I believe. I think it's about 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Thank you, Pete.
Oh, I do have a, Mr. Perez, I think you had a question last time. How much does the, yeah, I have the numbers for you, about 175,000. 175, yes. It's a public hearing.
It is public hearing. It's open for comment. Yes, Mr. Barrera.
Honorable Commissioners, Honorable Mayor, I hope this time you listen to my plea from a solid Brownsville citizen who adheres to the law all the time. I'm asking if you want to take my last dollar that I have saved to pay my home taxes this year. If you're in financial shortfall, it's because you don't live and operate within your financial means, Pete. You're always spending more than what the hell you have. Raising taxes on us citizens, especially during this recessional time, is wrong. You, our representatives, must control your wild taxation, control your waste, control your Mickey Mouse programs, check for fraud and abuse of our hard-earned dollar. More taxes breaks the small business because they don't invest. You need to protect us, the middle class. The Hudsons, the Porters, they can probably pay more taxes, but not us, the middle class. Our wallets are empty, brothers. We're down and out, money-wise. We're self-destructing by deficit spending. We can't spend what we don't have. We don't want more government bailouts. Too much government control is the problem. I don't want the government to control me. Even this so-called stimulus, hell. More debt is hurting our young kids. Unemployment is up to almost 10%. Gas, $3.50 a gallon. Never heard of that before. We need conservative remedies, people. Cut, cap, and balance. Do the right thing. Correct and do the proper thing. Ya la agua los llegó hasta el cuello. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Basically, what I'm going to ask you is what Mr. Barrera said is correct. We have too many projects that were brought up, not by this, but some of the commissioners here, and now we're in debt because of those programs. And we're going to have to look at those programs down the road, not this year, but next year. If they're not producing the money, then we need to cut them down. And that's it, okay? You have to take that step. As young commissioners here, it's not afraid to take that step and say, heck, if it can be done, we have to cut things down. On the television, 175,000, 174,000, it can be cut. It can be cut. Many cities in the city, many cities in the valley don't have TV and the programs. It can be cut. We're going to have to take those deals. We have 3 attorneys here. We need to cut those attorneys too. How much money is for the attorneys? $200,000, $300,000? We can have just one attorney in-house and save money. And you have to look at that. Okay, three attorneys. And I also look at Mr. Gonzalez. He's, I don't know how he's getting paid. He's assistant city commissioner, city manager, and also this chief financial officer. I don't know if they increased his pay. I hope they did, because he's doing 2 jobs. But he needs to go there where he used to work. We do have Jeff here that's also part of that. I think we have, how many? 2 assistants? City managers, correct? So we have to look at it. We have one young man who can do the job. He's a good man. I talked to him, he's very nice, and he tries to help me many times. He does. But Mr. Gonzalez needs to go back to his room and do his numbers. How bad? You're a good man. I know your brother, okay? And I also have, on the $4.50, Mr. Gonzalez, that's a question on the maintenance. When we get our POB bills, $4.50. Now that's straight to the general fund, is that correct? And how much does it bring in? $2 million?
Why do you
I'm asking that because if you use that, the maintenance funds for our general fund in order to keep the balance, because we want to keep what you're saying right now, you said we want to keep a very good credit rating, so we can get.
You see my presentation on sales tax on the bridge revenues?
Yeah, but not the
You
450.
got to make it up from somewhere. You're going to cut costs, you're going to have to reduce quite a bit of cost in personnel. And we have contracts with collective bargaining coming up that are going to cost us money. So, I mean, there's something that we need to look at very closely.
Yeah, but the 450 does generate $2 million.
Yeah, that's
Wait.
part of operating the general fund.
Yes.
That's correct.
So if that could be, if you want to, because I told a lot of people what one of the commissioners here said last meeting, there will be no tax increase. I heard it, unless you want to correct me.
Okay, may
You know.
I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
When we talked about the debt in July, we said the debt service tax rate would not go up. That's the statement that was made. The debt service tax rate remained at 27 cents. What we're asking for is for a 4-cent increase for maintenance and operation for the general fund. So the tax rate that we talked to you about July is correct. There is no tax rate increase to the debt service tax rate. It consists of 2 component units, the general fund and the debt service rate.
Okay.
And I made that already, pointed that out.
So actually, there will be a tax increase. And let's say it right now. There will be 4 cents. Yeah,
Operating.
yes.
We are short in the general fund. We're
Okay.
okay in the debt service fund.
Yes.
All right, if y'all don't mind, we won't speak to each other, we just speak to the chair.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, then we have to take that, what I'm saying right now. We need to cut personnel. Okay? We do. That 450 goes to the general fund and goes to the maintenance tax, sure. But you have to start cutting now. Because like Mr. Barrera said, and I agree with him, we got too many projects that were not brought up by you. It wasn't brought up by you, except for some people here, that needs to be cut. And if we can cut, because it's gonna hurt me. Because you're saying, well, it's not that much, $8, they said. Yeah, but you have to look at all the other tax entities, sir. Okay, it's not just Brownsville. It's everybody else that's gonna add on to that, our rates. And it's gonna hurt a lot of people. And now you have to remember this. How many people lost their homes? How many businesses have gone on? Oh, Tommy Boys went out of business, okay? And we got other people going out of business. So it's going on. So we have to look at that. You have to, as leaders for this community, you're going to have to cut personnel down. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Letty.
Good evening. How are you, sir? Mayor and City Commissioners. Of course, we're at the same thing again, and I just have a few thoughts on the taxes, and I know that Commissioner Longoria said something about not raising taxes. We're just kind of promising and thinking out loud, and I'm sure nobody wants to raise any taxes. I'm sure that nobody's really, really happy about it. But we seem to go around and around the issue. And there are things that we can do on this side of the spectrum to bring down, like Mr. Ureste says, the costs. And I think that's one thing that we need to do, is really look at the cost. If it's not working, please don't keep it. It doesn't need to stay. If it's not giving you revenue, then sell it or lease it. Why do we always have to stick to the same guns? We can do better, like I said. It's hard to make decisions. It's very hard. I mean, personal decisions are very hard to make, and city decisions are very, very hard to make. But you know what? It's the same circle. We go through this all the time. You have to increase your revenues, okay? Or you have to see how you can downsize. You need to downsize. And I'm not in control. I'm not here in your positions, but I certainly think that something needs to be more comprehensive. We're not expanding our city government. We need to do something to control it and keep it under tabs, and that's not happening. I see certificates of obligations twice in your, you've only been in office, what, 3 months? I see more people talking more about bonds. What is this? Because we cannot be concise. We need to know where the problem is and quit going around in circles. Poor Mr. Gonzalez is tired of, throwing out ideas. And we as a public, we're tired of hearing, hey, let's do this and let's do that. But if it goes to deaf ears, we can't do anything about it. We don't like to be a burden on anybody's back, but this is our town. We live here. We raised our families here. We want to stay here. Everybody says, you need to leave because of the, you know what? Only the people that have no gumption leave. People that have something within them say, you know what? We need to work together. We can do it. I keep saying it, and I'll say it until somebody's really, really tired of hearing it. But you know what? Really piling more debt upon more debt, and without looking at what can we do now to curb it? What can we do now to cauterize it and stop the bleeding? We need to stop the bleeding. This is affecting everybody. Barrera, me, you, and everybody that sits on this panel. It's affecting the children. Us, the future generation, I mean, the children themselves, because, hey, there's less revenue coming in. And what about promoting jobs? Where's the jobs? I keep saying the same thing. Where are the jobs? Where are we moving towards this? I hear another faction saying, we don't want to bring jobs that don't create a lot of money. You know what? Money or no money, something is something, and it puts food on the tables. But when I hear tax increase and I hear more tax increase, you know what I think of? People are going to lose their homes. That hurts. I don't know about you all. I don't know if you all have 6-figure incomes or 7-figure incomes, but what I see is people are going to lose their homes. And you know what? It's a shame when people can't sit down and say, what can we do about this? Because we're just, so high above the thinking of the common man. The common man is really hurting, and that's all I have to say. And I'm sure you're tired of listening to it, but this doesn't stop. It's a runaround and a runaround because we don't cauterize the bleeding. We need to stop the bleeding. And if you're here and if you're sitting on a seat, it's because we expect you to do something to help this city. And with all due respect, some of you were just elected. Some of you, have been here for a while. But we really need your help. And working with Mr. Gonzalez or doing something, to help out or whatever it takes, I think that we can do a better job, and we hope we can work together. Thank you.
We will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Letty. Do I hear any other further comments? Do I hear a motion?
Move to close public hearing.
There's second.
May I say something, Mayor?
No, it's too late. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
We do have a joint meeting scheduled for the PUB and the city of Brownsville for this coming Monday at 11:30, and we're planning to having it here. Hopefully we can get a quorum to meet with them, with the PUB board, and it's scheduled for Monday at 11:30. Also, we've already gone through public hearings on the tax rate increase. The budget that was filed at the city secretary's office was filed on August the 12th. Has to be there 30 days before it gets approved by the city commission and scheduled for September 12th. We were running 1 week behind. We are going to have another public notice in the newspaper. It has to be published 7 days before the budget gets approved, after these 2 hearings that we had. So we are going to have a meeting on the 12th, which is next Monday. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have to move that meeting for the 19th because of publication requirements. So I just want to make sure that we're going to have a meeting on the 12th. And for the adoption of the budget, it's scheduled for the 19th.
Will do.
A Monday.
Thank you very much, Pete. Okay, we had a motion and a second to close public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Public comments?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Action items.
Item number 8.
Consideration and action on resolution number 2011-051 to authorize the closure of Southmost Boulevard for the 12th Annual Veterans Day Parade.
Mayor, members of the City Commission, good evening. We come before you today asking to approve this resolution so that we can get authority to, or actually petition TxDOT to allow us to close Southmost Road for November the 12th for the 12th Annual Veterans Day Parade.
Do I hear?
Second.
I got a motion and a second on item number 8. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 9, consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase, delivery, and installation of network switches for the bus multimodal facility.
Honorable Mayor, City Commissioners, the staff recommends to award a contract for the purchase, delivery, and installation of network switches for the Brownsville Multimodal Facility to Kalins Inside Networking of Tempe, Arizona, in the amount of $98,473.63. This procurement reflects DIR contracting pricing. DIR means Department of Information Resources. It's a cooperative agreement. Funding for this procurement, it's available to a grant number TX-04-0056 in the amount of $78,778.90, which is 80%, and the matching funds of $19,694.73. Administration of the bus department, along with the MIS department, concurs with this recommendation.
I would entertain a motion. Second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 9.
Item 10, consideration and action to award a contract for the New Freedom Bus Stop Improvement Project.
Staff recommendation is to award a contract for the New Freedom Bus Stop Improvement Projects to Jimmy Clauser and Sons Construction of Mercedes, Texas, the low responsible bidder, for the amount of $298,672.80. Completion for this project should be 90 consecutive calendar days. Funding for this contract is coming from the Texas Department of Transportation, or TxDOT. It's a New Freedom grant, and the engineering department, along with the bus department, concur with this recommendation.
Your opinion? I got a motion and a second on item number 10. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Item 11, consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase, delivery, and installation of 2 air compressor systems for the Brownsville Fire Department.
Staff recommendation is to award a contract for the purchase, delivery, and installation of 2 air compressor systems for the Brownsville Fire Department to Casco Industries, a company out of Houston, Texas. And this reflects by-board contracting pricing in the amount of $59,960. This contract will be completed within 60 consecutive calendar days. Funding for this procurement will be derived from the assistance of the firefighters grant. The administration of the fire department concurs with this recommendation.
Would approve. Second.
Motion second on item number 11. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 12, consideration and action to award a contract for public computing center expansion at the City of Brownsville Central Public Library.
Staff recommendation is to award a contract for the public computing center expansion at the City of Brownsville Center Public Library to Donald Ferguson of Brownsville, Texas, the highest ranked firm, for a base bid amount and an alternate number 1 for a total bid amount of $941,415. This contract shall commence subsequent to award by City Commission and shall be completed by December 31st of this year. Funding for this contract has been allocated through funds, federal funds from IRA funding to the Department of Commerce, account 150-7497-8381, and 3 other accounts. The administration from the library as well as the architect concur with this recommendation.
Would approve.
Got a motion and a second on item number 12. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 13, consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase, delivery, and installation of shade structures for the Brownsville, Gonzales, and Oliveda parks.
Staff recommendation is to award a contract for these two parks, to USA Shade and Fabric Structure of Dallas, Texas, in the amount of $40,672. This procurement reflects a by-board contracting price. Funding is available for this project through the BCIC, and the administration of the Parks and Recreation Department concurs with this recommendation.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 13 carries.
Item 14, consideration and action to award a contract for demolition or condemned dilapidated structures for the Planning and Building Inspections Department.
Recommendation from staff is to recommend to award a contract for demolition of 9 condemned or dilapidated structures for the Planning and Building Inspections Department to U.S. Hurt Industries of Brownsville, Texas, the low responsible bidder, for a total bid amount of $42,600. The contractor is obligated to complete the demolition within 45 consecutive calendar days. Funding for this project is available from the Community Development Block Grant, and the administration of the Planning and Community Development Department concurs with this recommendation.
Move to approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Item number 14 carries.
Item 15, consideration and action to award a contract for the construction of Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the South Texas Discovery Center at the Gladys Porter Zoo.
Staff recommendation for this agenda is to award a contract for construction of Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the South Texas Discovery Center located inside the Gladys Porter Zoo to Pedro Gonzalez Construction out of Brownsville, Texas, the low responsible bidder, for a total bid amount of $440,700. The contractor is obligated to commence the work immediately and will complete the work within 100 consecutive calendar days. Funding for this project is available through the Texas Parks and Wildlife Grant in the amount of $390,040, and the remaining balance will be covered by the Gladys Porter Zoo in the amount of $50,660.
Motion and a second to approve item number 15. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What adjourn?
Move to adjourn by Commissioner Longoria. Anybody
Second.
second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.